Louie.
Hello, Gavin.
Welcome to our very wonderful holiday edition of...
I wish we had like a soundboard like Alaska and Willow.
Exactly.
And it could be like...
Much bad.
Yeah. But except it would be like Santa. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to our holiday edition of The Mixed Reviews. We're a film podcast in which we take an actor, a director, or a film subject, such as a mini-genre, and we talk about the good, we talk about the bad, and we give you a full history. I'm doing things with my hands. You can't see them.
We watch as much as we can.
Oh, we watch so much.
And we do our best.
Yes. So
it is the season to be busy.
Absolutely.
Is what I like to say.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, if you guys, if you're playing the home game, you'll notice that it has not been 2 weeks. Normally we take 2 weeks in between a film subject, but we took extra long with Mark Ruffalo, and we wanted to make sure this episode got out before the holidays. Mm-hmm. So here we are presenting you our annual holiday episode.
Yes.
But before we get into that, we have some old business to take care of.
Right. We had a short, like Gavin just said, we had a shortened period for you to vote on your favorite Mark Ruffalo movie, but you guys did, and the results are in. Quick note, I did in fact write down Infinity Polar Bear instead of Infinitely Polar Bear.
Yes.
That's my bad.
So sorry.
Also, that was my pick, and it came in at 4%. I think that is my vote.
You know what, though? I looked earlier today, and it was at 3%, which means it must have gotten 2 votes.
Thank you,
Look
mystery.
at math.
Yeah. Oh my god, look at math go. Hi, math. And then, surprisingly, we had a pretty tight race for the rest of the picks. The Kids Are Alright came in at 26%. And both You Can Count on Me, which was your pick, and 13 Going on 30 came in at 35%.
I like that it tied. I did some moderate joking campaigning for You Can Count on Me, so I was actually a little surprised when it ended up tying. But I like the fact that our audience is split because you have that sort of tender, deep Mark Ruffalo, and then you have like America's
You Can Count
Boyfriend.
on Me.
Yeah, yep. Correct.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, there's the popular movie that most people know, and then there's the, like, entrance of Mark Ruffalo, his origin story.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like that our audience appreciates both.
Yeah.
Oh my god, our audience is verse. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Shocking. Never would have guessed that one. Before we move out of our old business, I do want to say that we did get another 5-star review on iTunes, which, by the way, you can feel free to leave if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Please do it. We love you. This one is from Britt. It says, love it. 5 stars. Great podcast for people who love movies. Gavin and Louie are so fun to listen to, and I always come away with a list of movies to watch.
I mean, honestly, girl, same.
Yeah.
Even though I've watched so many, I'm like, God, I didn't watch that movie, and I should.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever left a recording being like, oh, well, I've completed this subject.
I think we did for Disney, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, the Disney Renaissance.
That one, 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
The peak.
We both got an A+ on that one. Also, just to take a moment of non-sponsored, sponsored content.
SpawnCon.
Yeah, SpawnCon.
Non-SpawnCon.
Non-SpawnCon, because we're not getting paid for this. But I do want to say, if you are searching for a last-minute gift for the film lover in your life, there's a new amazing card game out called Cinephile. It was created by my friend Corey Everett. He is a movie lover. We played trivia together. He worked on it for a very long time, at least over a year, trying to come up with a way of recapturing that movie trivia for people at home. I think this is the ultimate game for movie lovers and cinephiles and film fiends. And
oh my god.
It is a card game. It comes with beautiful, gorgeous illustrated pictures. There are 6 different games you can play included in it, so you never run out of ideas.
Game
and also,
1, hide the pickle.
Exactly. That's how it starts. And it's really cool. So I highly recommend. You can order it from cinephilegame.com, or I'm sure you can find it anywhere it was sold. I don't want to suggest you go to Amazon because Jeff Bezos owns everything, but it's there.
But she's there.
Exactly. I highly recommend it. There's one deck. It's 150 cards and so many ways to play. Like I said, it's the ultimate game for film fanatics.
I feel like I would be very, very bad at the game.
I don't think so. There's like I said, because of the different levels and the different games that you can play, I think there's something for everyone. You know, even if grandma's there, you're just like,
even if grandma did not get run over by a reindeer, and she was there.
She's there.
Would you guys play all your trivia at Videology?
Yeah.
Oh God. May she rest in peace.
R.I.P.
I saw, I think, 2 movies there. I saw Spice World, and then I saw Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion.
Oh, wow. Good things to see, yeah.
I think they were both, like, date nights. And I both am not seeing those guys anymore, so... But anyway, I feel like I want it to, like, get, like, really soft and then just, like, a little sprinkling of, like, reindeer sleigh bells. Ching, 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 you know? Or, like, the beginnings of Sleigh Ride. Oh, what a dream. Oh, and also just reminding me of another movie I watched that I have to talk about. Sorry, I'm so excited now.
So, Louie, what is the topic of today's episode?
I'm getting so, like...
Yeah.
I'm in my cable knit sweater. I'm
You are.
Cozy.
You look like you're ready to get those knives out.
They're here and they're out. Today we're talking about Christmas movie musicals. Ding, 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 ding.
I do want to make one addendum, just because there are at least 2 that are not Christmas holiday movie musicals, maybe.
I mean, we'll see. I also wish we were, like, surrounded by poinsettias. And we're like...
Who's to say we're not? They can't see us.
True. Guys, we're surrounded by poinsettias. Christmas movie musicals, which I think it's fun. It's funny, like, when we were trying to do some research for this episode, anytime you try and Google, like, movie musicals for Christmas, things like Chicago and, like, Dreamgirls, and any musical really turns up. And I think that has to do with, like, American culture.
Yes.
Where it's just, like, musicals are just for the holidays. You go to the theater with the family, songs that are merry and gay, you put on your nice clothes. Like, it is the quote-unquote traditional Heartland America thing to do in the holiday season. What we're wanting to talk about specifically, and when we had, like, discussed what we were going to watch, we basically had one rule.
Yes.
Does the musical have one Christmas song in it? At least one.
At least one.
And I think we found at least a handful that fit the bill that, you know, may or may not skirt the line around holiday specifics. But, yeah, I mean, it's funny, every holiday season, I find myself at work just, like, plugged into my carols, you know, my holiday classiques, just to, like, feel festive. And so it's fun watching these movies. A lot of them I hadn't seen before.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them I had.
Yeah.
Because I feel like these are the movies, I mean, a lot of these movies, especially, like, the family-friendly ones, that, like, when you were in, like, 2nd grade and your teacher didn't want to, like, have a lesson.
100%.
It's like, how many times can we watch Muppet movies? How many times can we watch, you know, the stop-motion Santa Claus is Coming to Town? Those are the movies that, as a kid, you watch and... you're like, oh my god, that's so crazy. I now know the story of Santa Claus.
Exactly.
I'm learning about culture.
Oh my god, the origin story of Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, like, oh my god, I know the song about Rudolph. I did not know the accompanying movie. And that's just smart marketing, America.
Yeah, it really
I don't know anything more American than that.
In a terrible capitalistic society, correct.
But we love.
We love.
They're so cute.
Live, laugh, love, buy. B-U-I.
B-U-I.
Yeah.
I want to be that B-U-I. That's a Gaga reference.
Oh, it is? Is it?
It is.
I'll get my claws out.
Please. Mine are always out. They're not even your claws, they're your paws.
I don't know things.
Oh, God.
I do not know things.
So, Gavin, what were you thinking of when you were, like, watching these or getting into the groove of it all?
As Louie likes to remind everybody during the Halloween season, he is not a spooky bitch.
Uh-huh.
I myself am not a merry gentleman.
Right.
Yes. So Christmas is not my forte, but I do think there is, as you were saying, something very specifically American about the holiday musical. Christmas has become such a... I mean, it is a Christian thing. It still is, but it has become such a seemingly non-denominational thing.
Yeah.
It is like an American holiday where it just sort of spreads. And the thing that people know about it is like love and cheer and being close with your family. And I think those things like that warmness, that like cuddliness is the thing that like I kept coming across. Even in some of these films, you know, that are not necessarily what you would consider a holiday movie, that have these sweet sort of Christmassy moments. It's an easy well to dig into for that sort of emotion.
Right. And I think maybe it's even a good stand-in for like even some of these movies that I didn't think too much of, when they got to like the song,
Yes.
I'm like, fuck me up. Like the songs are so good, and they are just pure nostalgia fuel in the most sweet, saccharine, but like comforting way. But and it's easy for anyone, especially as you're growing older, to like really wish that like life would slow down and you can just like breathe and be with your family with no, drama or whatever. There are a lot of moments in a lot of these movies that had that, I thought, even with everything else surrounding it. I'm like, man, if all we got from this movie is that one classic Christmas song, like, then good on it, because a lot of those songs have lasted longer in the cultural discourse, even though maybe some of the movies have been forgotten. I don't think a lot of people would know. I mean, I didn't know a lot of the song. Like, what are the songs that we get from movies?
White Christmas.
Well, White Christmas, yeah,
which comes from Holiday Inn and then gets its own movie.
We Need a Little Christmas, which is one of my faves. The movie,
not as great.
Not as great as the song, but there's a lot of these. I mean, even like coming into modern stuff, like with How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Where Are You Christmas is so good, and even I think the movie is pretty good. But
I shot at you a look.
Gavin just shaded me so hard. Okay, Christine Baranski in the movie.
Yes,
unflappable. Okay,
yeah, I agree with that. Christine Baranski is always neutral territory that everybody can agree on.
Yeah. There are no mixed reviews when it comes to her. Okay.
Yeah.
But when Cindy Lou Who looks out the window and she starts singing Faith Hill's song, that is the moment.
She starts singing Faith Hill's song.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, but it's just funny that,
Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you? Why have you gone away?
Hopefully we are able to take you guys on a journey through some nostalgia and remembering some movies. We also are going to hit a lot of TV movies, because a lot of Christmas or holiday movie musicals exist in that realm.
Yeah, exactly. This sort of, and I think part of that is, as we were saying, it feeling like an American sort of thing is that it's a tradition that you can rally your family around. You get them in front of the TV and you're sharing this experience with them.
Yeah, and it's funny. I wonder, well, how about we just get into the rewind?
Absolutely.
And it's hard to wrap around history of this, but I was just thinking, I wonder if a lot of these TV movies that came out in the 70s, I wonder if nowadays it feels like more and more people will go to the theater on Christmas Day. That probably was not the case in the 70s and before. It was not. I'm sure, the AMCs were not open, So ABC and NBC and all them were looking to have something to be broadcasting and have people watching, sitting in front of the TV and watching. And that's probably where all of these, great classics come from, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, that was a sidebar. But
it's a good sidebar, though. It's worth a thought.
Thought bubble. So Christmas music in general, we're gonna go straight to when it starts popping, because before
because prior to it start popping, you can go back to 14th century, Roman times,
hymnals,
carols of Christmas, and 16th century stuff comes around, like the 12 Days of Christmas and God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and O Christmas Tree, or O Tannenbaum, if you will. And, these are all very what you think of as Christmas carols, but they're not the pop tunes that really capture the American imagination.
Right, and they're not, fueling movie musicals and big dance numbers and stuff like that. And so that really is post World War II, and also a lot during the Great Depression, because people are looking for that escape. People want this whole idea of a sacrifice and for the family. And that really shines through in a lot of, I think, these older movies. A lot of it is like, oh no, we're poor all of a sudden. And what are we going to do? And it's Christmas. And how are we going to support the family?
That does seem to be a very common theme in a lot of these.
Oh, yeah. Like, aggressively so. We've got, like, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which you do find becomes a movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is a song that becomes a movie in 1970. Is it RKO that does these?
No, it's Rankin and Bass.
Rankin and Bass.
Yeah.
And those are, like, the stop-motion little dudes that, if for more modern audiences, you would recognize from, like, Elf.
Yes.
But, like, all those were... Isn't the little, like... There's one with the elf who wants to be a dentist.
Oh, that's part of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
Hermie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, another song that they took and made it into this musical and basically, like, smuggled its way into, like, the American conscious of, like... And this is the story of...
Right.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is kind of wild because everyone knows Rudolph.
Right.
No one has a, like, copyright on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right.
And yet they were able to, like, get into the public sphere and be like, this is the one.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone buy this one.
In a way, it's very similar to the problem that a lot of, these public domain fairy tales had when Disney started adapting them.
Yeah.
Because when you think of Sleeping Beauty or Snow White or Cinderella, what's the first thing that pops into your brain?
The Disney ones.
The Disney ones.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to that it's like, get our little claws on something in the public domain and make it very much ours.
Yeah. I will say, though, I mean, those Rankin and Bass?
Rankin and Bass.
The Rankin and Bass, like, designs are so iconic now.
Yeah.
And they're so good. They're so fun, and they capture the spirit of, like... Even then, it felt nostalgic. Like, somehow there's, like, nostalgia for, I don't know, fuck what, but just, like, I don't know, nostalgia for, like, the North Pole.
And I feel like Yukon Cornelius is probably the hero of many bears out there.
Hello?
Just saying.
Just saying. Also, we get a lot of, like, ballad-type songs of the era. So you have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas and White Christmas. And these are songs that also... become inspiration and fuel for movies.
These songs specifically, these post-World War II songs, the sort of nostalgic, the sort of looking back, the sort of, we've gone through this horrible time period and we've still come through and, things will persevere. Some of them come from, and I just find this so funny, Irving Berlin.
Right.
White Christmas is written by Irving Berlin. He is born Israel Isidore Berlin. He is very Jewish.
Very.
And he makes a ton of money off of Christmas.
Yeah.
It was Christmas time. Ellen and the children were back east, and Irving, stuck in Los Angeles, was lonely and homesick. In one all-night session, he tapped into those feelings and wrote a song that, when it was released in the 1942 film Holiday Inn, instantly became the biggest hit of his long, remarkable career.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know.
We're going to mention Irving Berlin a bit later, but I just want you to think about how... I don't know, this very secular holiday, which has sort of become this non-secular realm of just spending money on people and gathering around family, has these very clear portions of itself that were created by people. It's very similar to what you were saying about Rankin and Bass. Like, these constructs are come to life from all sorts of different walks of life of people and form what we think of as, the holiday season. Yeah. And I just think it's so interesting that it takes this collective and sometimes non-Christians to create the modern myth of Christmas for us.
Yeah, for sure. And so White Christmas was... debuted in Holiday Inn.
Yes.
Which comes out in 1942.
Holiday Inn, this was your first time seeing it.
Yes.
We discussed it a little bit. My first time seeing Holiday Inn, I did not know about the racist musical number that occurs. Holiday Inn is a movie set at a hotel. It goes through several holidays.
It's only open on the holidays.
Yes, exactly.
The whole gag is this guy moves to a farm because life is hard being a performer, and he wants to only have a hotel where he can perform only on the holidays. It'll only be open on the holidays.
And so many of the musical numbers are set around holidays. There is a musical number set around President's Day, which is about Abraham Lincoln, and it is done entirely in blackface. Even worse, there's a character named Mammy in it, and she gets to sing her own verse of this song in the kitchen.
Yeah, and the lyrics are something about like, "Oh, Abraham, thank you, Abraham, for helping us, Abraham."
Yes. It's really bad. Now, the first time I saw this movie, it didn't have this musical number in it.
Oh.
Because in the 80s, when it aired on television, they had the sense to remove it.
Right.
However, Turner Classic Movies refuses to show their films edited. So the second time I saw this film, I got to it and I was like, yeah, I was like, oh no. And I think that's interesting. And I actually respect Turner Classic Movies for showing it unedited because, I don't know, I think if you can have a conversation about it, if you're not just talking, if you're not just watching it and absorbing it face value, if you're able to talk and have this conversation about the racism that's inherent in the film and the sort of racist past and racist present that it provokes and evokes, then I think that's more interesting. However, I'm kind of happy I didn't see it as a kid, but it did taint the way I saw that film because I was like, wow, I really liked this fun musical movie.
Yeah.
And then was... What?
Yeah.
That is another number written by Irving Berlin.
Holiday Inn, there are a lot of fun numbers and clearly full of very talented people. Like Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire are the stars of the movie. And there's a funny moment when he's like supposed to be like dancing drunk or whatever, and people like are laughing. And there's a number for like the 4th of July where fireworks are going off while he's like tap dancing and stuff, and that's very fun. So I'd never seen this movie, and then two, I had never seen blackface before.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know,
not in like a serious way.
I never consumed like entertainment and been like, oh, that's blackface.
You should see Bamboozled, by the way, the Spike Lee film. This is a sidetrack.
Okay, and it was jarring, not because, I mean, I take that back. I guess I have seen blackface. And, like, I saw Dear White People, and I saw them, like, in blackface for the party, whatever, for the hip-hop party. But this was earnest entertainment, and they, like, and it's part of the plot, you know?
And the thing that's shocking about it is it's over an era too late.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't have happened. It never should have been greenlit. They should have been told, this is in poor taste. You shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But it still happened.
Yeah. The song, like the song, for better or worse, of the musical, the song White Christmas, it's kind of a magical moment because he's basically like teaching it to America.
Yes,
he's at the piano singing it, and you know the woman star, she comes in and she's like, oh, what is this? And I want to learn, and so he's teaching it to her, and I was like, he's teaching it to all of us.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just
like the ones I used to know,
where the treetops glisten,
where the treetops glisten,
and children listen,
and children listen.
And it's just kind of crazy. Like, White Christmas has become a standard, you know, like the American standard musical moment, and it I think it works.
What's funny is, you know, more than a decade later, 12 years later, Irving Berlin essentially pitches making a musical version of that song, and it essentially becomes a jukebox musical for Irving Berlin's music. You get the Great Sisters number, you get choreography, which is another great number in it. You get White Christmas sung a couple different times. And what's magical about that is Bing Crosby, after Holiday Inn, would go and entertain the troops and sing White Christmas and have these very emotional moments with the troops.
It's especially a song that speaks to the GIs in World War II. Many of them are in the South Pacific, and they hear a song about White Christmas, and it brings back home, and it's a tremendously moving number for them.
And the beginning of the movie White Christmas tries to recapture that, and it's a valiant effort. However, there are definitely some downsides. You know, it's 12 years later. Not everybody's learned their lesson. There's a musical number, not in blackface, but about minstrel shows in it, and they use the Abraham Lincoln musical number as music underneath. It's interesting to see where, you know, all these ideas continue to go wrong. I would highly recommend, there's a great article written this year, December 7th, by Jessica Mason on the Mary Sue about coming to terms with the racism in White Christmas and the blackface and Holiday Inn. And I love the way she concludes this article. Once again, highly recommend reading the entire article. But she concludes this article by saying, the same goes for Irving Berlin himself, who is part of a larger American cultural tradition that was suffused with racism. And he did his part both to perpetuate and subvert it. White Christmas, the song, is the most popular song of all time, and it was written by a Jewish man during the summer in California. Every movie and song and piece of art has a story. It's not always merry and bright, but it always matters.
Yeah.
And I think watching these films, I was definitely in a 2019 context because I had not seen White Christmas in years. The blackface number in Holiday Inn had stuck with me. The minstrel show number and White Christmas, I must have blocked out.
Yeah.
Because I know I've definitely seen it before. And it shocked me to see both of these. I will say, I think White Christmas is mostly a good movie and has some great moments. Bing Crosby's really good in it. Rosemary Clooney's really great in it. Danny Kaye is amazing in it. But it does have some issues, and it's worth thinking about them when watching these cultural moments.
For sure, and especially because like these are, I mean, do you think in Holiday Inn they were trying to be subversive?
No, and I think that's part of the problem. It's like, I think it, like you said, I think it's done in earnest.
Well, they because they really want to pat themselves on their own backs, because it's not blackface for sake of blackface.
Right.
It's blackface for the sake of being like, isn't it so great that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves?
Yes.
So we are celebrating, you know, black people, and I can almost like, you can almost like sense like the creators of this movie being like, here we can do this,
right?
And people, and this will be the safe place for us to do this blackface that clearly is, you know, has gone out of vogue 10 years prior.
It's in fact the same sort of, you get the same sort of feeling during the minstrel show number in White Christmas, where the song is sort of opining the loss of the minstrel show, and you get the idea that the person singing it, or the person behind the song, is saying like, what fun we had, what a great time, having these fond memories of this thing, without contextualizing the negative aspect of these acts in these shows.
Yeah, I think what's most jarring is like putting Mamie, like making her sing along with them. That was the most awful part.
I was going to say, I would say if there's one, like if there's one to really go after, it's Holiday Inn. Not to absolve White Christmas of any of the stuff that happens in it, but you can tell that there was definitely some thought behind. They probably shouldn't have put the number in the show, but there was some thought behind like not doing it in blackface.
Right.
And I'm not exactly patting them on the back. I don't want anybody to think I'm absolving them, but like, ooh boy, that Holiday Inn number.
That number is hard to get through.
Bet you didn't think you'd get a conversation about blackface in our holiday musical episode.
In 1944, Meet Me in St. Louis premieres, and you get Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which is a full banger. If you have not heard Kelly Clarkson sing this song, you are not living.
True, but I will say Judy Garland's version of it is, I think, my favorite. And it's that scene. We talked about Meet Me in St. Louis. Meet Me in St. Louis is, you know, once again, maybe not fully a Christmas musical, but that number has such resonance.
Yeah.
And that scene to me is so powerful, where she's trying to convince her younger sister, who is a full-on freak.
Psychopath. Another movie I had not seen before.
Yes.
And I was like, there are a lot of points in this movie where I was like, what is going on with this little bit? Tootie, if you will. That little bitch is ready to kill people. She's like, you ready to die?
Yeah, exactly.
That psycho.
Fully breaking lamps going, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, that's
fully like, and then we like made the trolley go off the track. It was hilarious. I was like, what, ma'am? That movie is a little sweet but psycho.
Yeah. But that number where she's trying to console her younger sister, and I don't know that. It's
very beautiful.
Yeah, it's the way she delivers it as well.
Yeah.
No one delivers things like Judy Garland.
No.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. Next year all our troubles will be out of sight.
She fucking nails it. The movie, like I said, is a little sweet but psycho. But the Christmas part is very tender.
Yeah, and that song is dark. It's not it, and they've since changed the lyrics over the years.
Yeah, the lyrics that
I believe it was. I want to say it was Frank Sinatra who requested the change, but
well, even so, apparently Judy Garland said that the lyrics originally were too dour. And she asked them to change them to what they were. And then when it got to Frank Sinatra to do a version, later, he was like, this shit's too sad. And so the popular version that most people will sing today is the Frank Sinatra version.
Yeah.
But I guess for him, like, I mean, in that specific, like, he was singing for, like, a record.
Right, exactly. He's like, I'm going to entertain him in Vegas. I don't know why he talks like that in my head, but he does.
But he does. But, like, for the movie, like, it truly is, like, and which I don't fucking buy. They're like, oh, we're going to be poor in New York. I'm like, bitch.
We're all poor in New York.
I know. And that's the gag also. They're like, ugh, moving to New York? No, why? It's awful there. And they're like, in St. Louis being like, we have everything here.
Yeah, it is, I don't love it, so I'm not even going to pretend to love it.
Okay.
My dad loved it, but he also played the grandfather in high school when they did it for the.
Okay.
But I do think it's a weird fake nostalgia for like a time and place that didn't really exist.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like a very mythical St. Louis that.
But the music.
Yeah,
bangs.
Like, I mean, trolley song alone that's
worth the entry fee.
Before we move off of Judy Garland, did you get a chance to watch In the Good Old Summertime?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, and that falls into the Christmas category sheerly by the fact that it may be called In the Good Old Summertime, but 90% of that movie takes place at Christmas.
Yeah,
and
is that the movie where Liza Minnelli makes her debut on screen?
Does she?
I think she does.
Oh, really?
At the very end.
Yes, she's the daughter. Yes,
the child.
The child. What child is this?
Yeah.
Liza. Liza, it's opening night of Cats. We gotta go. Sorry, thanks for sticking with us, everybody. In the Good Old Summertime is one of the musical adaptations of The Shop Around the Corner. The other famous one is She Loves Me, which was recently revived on Broadway. In this one, Judy Garland, Van Johnson, who's a member of the Tribe Guys.
Hello.
Hey. You know, it's a love story between them, and it's funny because most people recognize the plot as You've Got Mail. Mm-hmm. And they basically start corresponding with each other, and they don't realize each other is who they are, and they hate each other in real life, but they love each other through these letters. And it's funny because the whole concept is you fall in love with the person's soul, not the way they look. But I love the fact that, spoiler alert, at the end, as Van Johnson's like revealing himself to be, he's like making up all this shit about because he finds out that who she is before she finds out who he is.
Yeah.
He's making up all this shit about the guy she's been corresponding with about
how fat he is and he's bald.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just like,
and her face is like,
but there's a couple Christmas songs in it. One main one, but I'll be honest, the real banger in that movie is I Don't Care.
I Don't Care is the real banger of that movie.
Absolutely.
I don't care what they may think of me. I'm happy-go-lucky, they say that I'm plucky, contented, and carefree. I don't care if I do get a mean and stony stare. If I'm not
So not a Christmas song, but you know what? I don't care.
I don't care. And the acting choices in that, oh my god. I really enjoyed that movie. It's like a fun plot.
Yeah.
It's
And she's so good in it and so beautiful.
one of my favorite things about that movie is music shops are just like full of people who play songs for you.
Yes.
Can you play this for me? And then you get Judy Garland just being like, well, of course.
Yeah, and I love that she's like, oh, I can't sing.
Yeah.
Don't make me sing.
And then she fucking slays it. I didn't watch this movie, but Silver Bells comes from the Lemon Drop Kid. And then you get Babes in Toyland featured in... Babes in Toyland featured the song Toyland. Did you watch any of the Babes in Toyland versions?
I can't watch. And we did this before when we talked about Santas, and
There's like a crazy...
Oh, and Keanu. We talked about Keanu, so he's in a version.
He's in the 1980s version with Drew Barrymore.
But
Which you can find fully on YouTube.
Yeah.
FBI, don't come for me.
Those movies look like a waking nightmare to me, and I just can't bring myself to do it.
The original Disney version, Annette Funicello and Tommy Sams, she plays Mary Contrary, and he plays Tom Piper. And there's this antics and plot. It's kind of very funny. I think you might actually like it.
Okay.
Because there's a moment there's an evil wizard dude who wants to marry Mary.
Always with the evil wizards.
I know. And he basically hires two henchmen to kill Piper because he wants to marry Mary. That's annoying. They end up selling him instead to, trigger warning, gypsies. And
we call them Romas now, Louis. I know that's not.
I will say
that's the movie.
I feel very bad saying that you should watch it, and it's kind of funny, but also there is a really hard scene to watch where it literally is. And now here come the gypsies, and they do this big dancing number where it's we are Romanis and we sing and dance and we won't put a curse on you, which is hard to watch.
Wow.
But there's a lot of funny sight gags. Oh, Mother Goose is literally the entire time in the movie has her it's Mother Goose, and she's always holding a talking goose. He's talking, and the actress is fully puppeting him while she's acting, and they've dubbed his lines over. It's very funny. It's a spooky, very sweet but psycho, but also very classique. They end up going to Toyland. They meet a toy maker who's an idiot. And so there's...
Most of them are.
Most of them are, yeah.
Speaking of wizards, I don't want to leave it out. We did talk about this in our Santa Claus on Film episode. 1959's Santa Claus from Mexico. A film, yes. A film in which Merlin helps give Santa Clauses. We won't talk about this for very long. Go back and listen to that episode. But there's a demon named Pitch in it. He's trying to stop Santa. And there's several borderline racist musical numbers.
Guys, did you think we were going to talk about so much racist shit on this musical episode?
Yeah.
Surprise! We also get Scrooge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me.
We also get, moving later along, we're including Nightmare Before Christmas in this.
Yeah.
Of course.
There is a very popular debate every year. Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? And to that, I always say...
Yes.
Well, more likely, or more often than not, I say, what are you doing in my house?
Right.
Please get out.
Please.
Or why not both .gif?
Why not both .gif? I rewatched it, and I didn't need to, but I got to thinking, so the plot of The Night Before Christmas is that he wants to do Christmas instead of Christmas Land, right? Whatever.
Yeah. Or instead of Halloween, yeah.
Does Halloween not happen that year, then?
Halloween's far enough away. I feel like...
Oh,
because Christmas is only 2 months after Halloween.
Oh, so he takes over the very next Christmas?
I think so. I think he's got a very shortened time period, very shortened, very small production schedule. Huh. Guys, got to get this production on the road.
No, but isn't there a scene in the movie where the clock goes around and they're oh, there's only... I could be wrong. You could be right.
No, you might be right. But
and I was thinking oh, and so people are going to be so upset because the Christmas people can't do Christmas, and the Halloween people are doing it. But then I got to thinking, was no one mad that Halloween didn't happen? I don't know.
Everybody was like you; they were okay with it.
Yeah, I was
Jerks.
like, no one at me for like fucking punching holes through Night Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It just got me thinking.
Just me crying at home, eyeliner running. Why didn't it happen this year?
all the My Chemical Romance kids just so upset. The Black Parade canceled. What's This is a full bop.
What's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air. What's this? I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair. What's this?
The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yes.
How could we forget?
Well, it's funny that because you brought up Scrooge, and when doing Christmas movies, people have a tendency to mine the same sources over and over and over again. I have no idea how many versions of A Christmas Carol there are.
A lot.
There's a lot. There's at least, 10 musical versions.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them are films, but you have Scrooge, not Scrooged, which is not a musical. That'd be interesting. You have Muppet Christmas Carol. You have A Diva's Christmas Carol.
Thank the Lord.
And it's interesting to watch all these different versions. And I think Muppet Christmas Carol does the story real justice. I'll be perfectly honest.
It's also just, I forgot. I mean, we watched it and I was like, man, this is fucking funny.
Yeah.
Having Gonzo being the narrator with Ratso is Rizzo, right?
Yeah.
Is so good.
Yes.
Rizzo is just like taking the piss out of everything, and he's such a good foil to Gonzo, who's trying to be very like, proper, and he's like,
He's trying to be, I'm Charles Dickens.
I'm Charles Dickens, and Rizzo's like, what?
Yeah. What's funny? The reason they picked Gonzo to be the Muppet that would be Charles Dickens is because they sat down and thought to themselves, who is the least like Charles Dickens of all the Muppets?
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's so good. My favorite is like in the end when like it's getting scary, they're like, we're going to leave you guys alone for this. Bye.
My favorite line in the entire film is,
Whoa, that's scary stuff. Hey, should we be worried about the kids in the audience?
No, it's all right. This is culture.
Oh.
It's so good. And that's a great example. They use the Muppets to such good effect.
Yeah.
And I love, the best thing about Muppets in general is that they just exist in this human world.
yes.
And no one blinks.
There's no questions. Yeah.
Yeah, but like when they flash back to Christmas Past and you see young Scrooge and like the professor comes in and it's like that
Sam the Eagle.
Yeah, and I was like, perfect casting.
He's like, make money. It's the American way. And Gonzo has to be like,
yeah, it's the British way. All the like gags of them falling everywhere.
Yeah.
So good.
Very good.
I mean, high quality movie making. Is it time to talk about Best Little Whorehouse in Texas?
I think it's time to talk about Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. I don't know how many Christmas musicals were made in the 80s, but maybe one of the best movie musicals made in the 80s
for
in
sure.
general is Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
It absolutely is. When I was a kid, my mom had a CD of, it seemed like a mix of random songs, but we would play it every Christmas. And Hard Candy Christmas was on it.
Oh, Dolly.
And I remember just being like, this is my shit. Like, as a young child. And I didn't understand what a Hard Candy Christmas meant.
Yeah.
But the music is so good and evocative. You feel the yearning. You feel the loss. You feel the sense that, like, this is going to be a tough winter, a tough emotional time. And you're barely getting through tomorrow.
And it's a song about leaving things behind, changing. I do think the end of the year, which Christmas comes right before, I think that is an enormous time of change for most people. Yeah. People come up with New Year's resolutions. They basically try and come up with ways to improve their lives. And also, it seems like hardships really occur during the holiday season. The changes, whether it be losses of jobs or losses of family or not being with the people you love during the time. I think Hard Candy Christmas, which comes from this musical, I genuinely, when I'm watching the film, because I hadn't seen it since I was a little kid, I had a father that was very cool with showing me whatever. I thought it was a Dolly Parton song, and it's not. It's actually from this musical.
It's from the musical,
yeah.
Me, I'll be just fine and dandy. Lord, it's like a hard candy Christmas. I'm barely getting still I won't let sorrow bring me way down. I'll be fine and dandy. Lord, it's like a hard candy Christmas. I'm begging.
It's also just like about perseverance, about like getting through, about
Yeah.
like things are sad and tough, but there is a new chapter right coming up ahead. And the movie like got very bad reviews.
It did, and I have no idea why, because it's a hoot.
It is a hoot. And I mean, it's like sex positive as fuck.
It is. It's insane to me that this movie that came out, what is it, 82 or 84? It's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll get my phone out later and check it, whatever. But this film that comes out in the early 80s is so much like, hey, sex work is a real job. It's not a negative thing. No one is, there's an entire musical number called...
Which one?
Nothing. Is it Nothing Dirty?
There ain't nothing dirty going on. It's called Itty Bitty Little Pissant Place.
Yeah, Itty Bitty Little Pissant Place. But the chorus is there's nothing dirty going on. And that's sort of the concept, is like it's a place where these women are treated very well. There's specific rules, and there's no negative context to it until this ultra-right conservative crusading hypocrite televangelist character, precursor to Fox News type character, comes along and causes all this trouble for them.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I often think about this. There's so many films in the 80s that tried to warn us about the rise of right-wing television.
We did not
And-
listen.
Yeah, exactly. And that sort of right-wing commentary. And we didn't. We didn't listen. And it was right there.
I know. Dolly and Bert were telling us.
They were.
We gave you all the clues, Mr. Snowman. Mr. Policeman?
Mr. Policeman.
Yeah, it's sex positive as fuck. Dolly looks great. The songs are excellent. The musical numbers.
Burt Reynolds is hot in his little underwear.
Super sexy.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of homoeroticism? Because that musical number...
Yeah.
It's like, was it like 26 miles to heaven? They want to go to the chicken ranch to dance. And fuck.
And they're all in the showers and the...
I know.
And
That is the truth about the Texas A&M football team. I know it. You can tell me all the lies you want, but I know the truth.
And I have to say, the person who's doing the best and living up to the, like, everything is perfection in that film. But Charles Durning as the governor, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in the 1985 Oscars. He lost to Officer and Gentleman. So that's, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
But like a true supporting performance.
Truly, he has one musical number.
One musical number. He's in the movie for maybe 11 minutes. He steals every fucking scene. Every time the camera's on him,
So
he
good.
makes the most of
And
it.
he plays like the most little like rascally guy.
Yeah. I love to do a little sidestep.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. He was doing Melissa McCarthy before she was doing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh man.
What a wonderful film. The reason we're here, the reason for the season is Hard Candy Christmas. Which comes from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Yes.
It's, as we were doing our research, we were like, what are some non-conventional holiday Christmas musicals? And that we came across that. We were both like, done.
Done and done.
Yeah.
You must watch if you're looking for something to watch this Christmas and don't want to go out. There she is. When are we talking about Mrs. Santa Claus?
Can we talk about Mrs. Santa Claus? Please don't hate me.
No,
okay.
please.
So that movie came out when I was 13, and it was like a television event. It was, on CBS. It's a musical starring Angela Lansbury, the aforementioned Charles Durning as Santa Claus, Michael Jeter, before he passed away, whom I loved and is really great in The Fisher King. If you have not seen it, highly recommend
Who is
seeing
he
it.
in Miss
He's
Santa Claus?
the elf with the mustache.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so good. Good character actor.
Terrence Mann, who is and was and always will be just Tim Curry 10 years younger.
Yes.
As the villain.
Literally, I was like, that's not Tim Curry, but...
No, but
it might be.
But it might be. Bitch, he might be.
Yeah. Especially knowing Tim Curry. He's very sneaky.
And I just, it's very much a traditional musical. It could easily be adapted to the stage. And it's... I just started in high school. My high school theater was from 7th grade until 12th, so you could really be part of it. You could grow up into it. And I would have been 13 at the time. It had just like started High School Musical theater and whatnot, and this came along, and I was just so enamored with it. And I think Angela Lansbury is so wonderful and delightful in it.
Yeah.
And there's lots of fun musical numbers. The Avenue A song, where you hear Bonjour, Oy vey, and all the great like Tavish toys. So the premise is Mrs. Santa Claus is tired of being taken for granted. She's created a new route for Santa Claus that she thinks will get him done delivering toys faster. She accidentally crashes in New York City. One of the reindeer breaks its legs, so she has to stay in early 20th century New York City.
It's like 1906.
Yeah, exactly. Like women are trying to get the suffrage vote. Children,
and like literally everyone is an immigrant.
Everyone's an immigrant.
There's like accents aplenty.
She doesn't understand why the people that she's renting the room from don't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, they're Jewish.
The Jewish lady's like, don't tell anyone, but I enjoy Christmas more than I should.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's, they're against child labor, they're unionizing. It's like all these things coming together. And it's so interesting, I think, to like put these social issues into this film about Christmas.
Yeah. It's funny, the movie is feminist as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, the basic plot of this is Mrs. Santa Claus wants to do more. They let you know at the beginning that she basically does all the management of everything on the North Pole, but Santa is the one that gets to like write the list and deliver the toys. And she's even like, well, maybe I can go with you this year. Maybe like she also says, I spend every Christmas Eve by myself, and
a lady has needs.
Mm-hmm. And so and that's like the beginning of everything. She's like, women couldn't do that. And she is like this extra voice there's like the suffragette character. There's all these kids who are like working in squalor conditions.
And I like that there's real worry in some of the characters. The main suffragette character she's a rabble-rouser. She's always out there with signs. She's always trying to get women to come with her.
She's literally carrying a soapbox.
Yes, and the other women are afraid because they're immigrants.
Yeah.
They don't want to be kicked out of the country.
The woman who's like renting the house to her, she's very scared of the police.
Yeah.
Very scared that they're going to kick her out of the country.
And turns out he just wants to go on a date with her.
If only that was the America we lived in.
I know.
I like the movie a lot.
Thank you, because once again, and I will say this to shame anybody who's listening, who does not listen to this podcast, so it doesn't matter, but I tried to show it to people 2 years ago, and they turned it off.
That seems aggressive.
Yeah.
It is perfectly made for the holiday season, and it has like this very progressive bent to it. I will say, though, I like the last song. Like, musically, the last song is so good, but like content-wise, I'm like, they had to at the very end be like, I have needs, but he needs me.
He's my world, and I am his. He's my world, and journey's end is where he is. And his laughter is my laughter, and tells me what I'm living for. And so if he needs me, I'll go, 'cause I need him much more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no!
Yeah.
You ruined it. Like that. They didn't stick the landing at the end. And I guess they had to redeem Santa somehow.
Yeah.
And so in the end,
you're right.
He takes her on, to deliver the toys on that one. He's like, oh, I miss Mrs. Claus and blah, blah, blah. And it's so complicated though, because I think the music, that song she sings is very beautiful. It's like this big power ballad. She's just like basically singing to the stars, and it's the star that she knows that he's looking at. He loves her, la la la.
That scene's so good.
It's so
that
good.
movie makes me tear up a little bit, I'll be honest.
Should I bring up 8 Crazy Nights?
I think we're going to talk about it.
Eight Crazy Nights comes out in 2002. It's a very rare Jewish.
Yes, Eight Crazy Nights stands out kind of alone in terms of the mass-produced Hanukkah movies. Yeah.
They have mass-produced Hanukkah musical movies.
Right. Yeah, my boyfriend is Jewish. He's explained to me that Hanukkah is not a big holiday.
Yeah.
That it's sort of the American perception.
Right.
To kind of coexist with Christmas or casually compete with Christmas.
It's the Jewish Earth Day.
Right. Exactly. So, maybe there doesn't need to be more Hanukkah movies, but if there were, it'd be nice if they were better than this.
Right. Did we talk about MAME enough? Probably, right?
Probably, yeah. Lucille Ball, she's doing her thing. MAME is not as good as Anti-MAME, the movie that precedes it.
MAME is not as good as Bosom Buddies, the one scene in MAME.
Correct.
Like I mentioned before, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. They also did another Grinch movie for children.
Yes, last year I unfortunately went with my then at the time 7-year-old nephew and 9-year-old niece and hated every moment of it. And when I was home for Thanksgiving, I brought it up. There was a commercial for it, and I was like, "Oh, that's that Grinch movie that was terrible." And my 8-year-old nephew was like, "It wasn't bad." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, it was fun."
Polar Express, which we watched, I think, for Santa. I think
yes.
we definitely watched.
I'm still having nightmares.
It is horror.
Yeah,
it is an American Horror Story.
Yeah, exactly. Uncanny Valley, the movie.
Yeah, I forgot that there was music involved in it because the music in it is so very.
It's unmemorable
and like sparse.
The best time of the year when everyone comes home. With all this Christmas cheer, it's hard to be alone. Putting up the Christmas tree with friends who come around. It's so much fun when Christmas comes to town.
There is also Black Nativity.
Yes.
Which also stands out. This retelling of the story of Christ through this African-American lens. All I can say is that Forrest Whitaker needs to fucking pick an accent.
Yeah. It was nice to hear Angela Bassett sing. Mm-hmm. I feel bad being too hard on Black Nativity because I do think that for like 70% of its heart is in completely the right place. It's very loosely based off of the Langston Hughes play, which is essentially just a retelling of the Nativity story with black actors. Alvin Ailey was part of the original cast in the 1960s for the dancing and whatnot, but I think this movie went off the rails. It sort of tries to recontextualize all that in a metaphorical way. It involves the Langston Hughes play in itself. The main character's name is Langston. Everybody keeps going like Langston Hughes the poet,
and and then he says, "You know it." Blech.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the movie feels very in the same vein, it's very African American. It has a lot of big entertaining numbers. Nas is in it. Mary J. Blige is in it.
Kasi Lemons.
Yeah, who just did
Harriet. If you're going to cast Mary J. Blige in a movie, please use her more.
Gotta use her more.
Use her more. Especially if you're going to put her in that wig.
Hello?
Yeah. Give her more lines.
And I texted you this. I was like, we as a country need to come together and talk about Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah.
Because an Oscar for Dreamgirls does not an actor make. Honey.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love her in Dreamgirls.
I do too.
But
genuinely.
But this is not it.
Yeah.
And
the movie also...
She yells at us the entire time.
Yes.
I wish I don't know if it was direction or what, I'm like, girl, you cannot just park and bark and yell at me the entire time.
And that's the thing, is there is, movement to some of these songs. There's choreography to some of these songs. Not, full-on dancing, but, physical, actors moving places. And, yeah, it seems like she was directed to just stand and belt.
We'll be wishing on stars, praying for change, and mending my heart in
fucking song. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you have any levels?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? It's,
my other big issue with it, and I find that this has more to do with films that are of a religious nature. Sorry, guys. But it seems to, like, very much put a lot of the blame on her. She's this single mother who loses her job and she wants a better life for her kid, but it kind of feels like very much how you felt about the end of Mrs. Santa Claus, where it's like, if only she'd had a man in her life.
Yeah.
It would have. She even says it in her very first song. She's like, I can't teach you the things that a man could.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no.
Especially when that man's Tyrese.
Yeah, that movie was a kind of a shame.
I wanted so much more. I was excited going into it. And then
I was excited going into it, too, because it was something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
unfortunately. I think it's a lot of these movies, I remember for a while, like, looking for more, like, because they're such a specific genre, and the fuel that they give me is very comforting, and I think for a lot of people, whether the movies are good or bad, they get the job done.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to these musicals, because I mean, though not Polar Express, but a lot. I mean, even there are songs to find in all these movies, and the nostalgia of it all that really just kind of like warm the heart. There is a reason why we can see 15 different versions of A Christmas Carol,
right?
And still, really get, when done right, emotional. And like in Muppet Christmas Carol, like they have new songs and they're fun and funny, but still really emotional. Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. There's something about music that draws out the emotion in a person more so that, there's something that can be done in a 3-minute song that can take you on sort of a journey in a way that I don't know if any other storytelling format can supply that sort of punch in such a small period of time. I think that's what really separates the sort of holiday musical apart from, your average holiday movie, is they can tell you this long format story, but if it's something like Meet Me in St. Louis or, even Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, they can capture that specific feeling, that warmth, that longing, that bittersweetness in just one scene using a song. And I think that's really the essence of the holiday musical, is that sort of that feeling that you get of that time and that warmth.
Yeah, and you're able to carry that on after the movie.
Absolutely.
These songs live with us forever. I mean, movies, I guess in certain ways do, but like movies have a beginning and end, and
right.
You turn it off and it's over. But like songs, there's a thing like we get to sing them together.
Yeah,
we get to share them, and I mean, and these songs are kind of like, I can't remember the first time I heard these songs, but
they've been around, but
right, but like it's almost like when you hear them, even though it's your first time, it's like you already know them.
Yeah,
I love that about these things. Like these, we get to take these with us, which is kind of a fun extension of the movie and the whole experience. So, why don't we get some picks?
Absolutely.
Should we do 1-star reviews or 5-star reviews?
Let's start with our 1-star. Might as well.
All right, Gavin, hit me with your 8 Crazy Nights.
That's 100% it. I feel bad giving it to the only Hanukkah-themed holiday musical. It is so bad. I had never seen it before. It came out in 2002, which is like sweet spot, like senior year of high school. Adam Sandler was huge. He'd had Big Daddy before this, and The Wedding Singer, which is still my favorite Adam Sandler movie. And yeah, I think he kind of felt he could do anything. So he decided to do this animated holiday musical. Very, the name comes from his Hanukkah song, and he wanted to do it in the sort of like holiday, sort of Rankin and Bass-esque special looking, sort of like Frosty the Snowman. And what he came up with, however, is maybe one of the most horrible experiences I've had watching a movie in a long time.
It's funny. So, P.S. This is my pick also.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
But it's funny. I remember watching this as a kid and being like, "This is hilarious," and it's just so telling.
Yeah.
Like, only a child could think that the humor and the. I mean, I think the sister is still very funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's the best part.
But okay, so just to get into what it is, Adam Sandler's character is basically a stunted man-child. And I'll give you the reason in a moment because it's almost worse. Davy Stone, who's this 33-year-old alcoholic, he has a huge criminal record. He basically gets sentenced to community service for this basketball coach, who is... I don't know how to describe it. Like, he's like a Jewish caricature who's extremely hairy, and the joke is that, like, he lives with his sister, and
he has, like, one larger foot than the other.
Yeah,
and
he has a very annoyingly high-pitched voice, and...
His name's Wheezy, isn't it?
It's Whitey.
Whitey.
So the original name of the movie was going to be Whitey and Davy, and they decided to change it because they thought it might be considered offensive.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
Thoughtful.
And he has to basically like work with this guy and live with this guy, and
he lives with this guy because his place burns down after he beats them at a basketball game.
Yes. And I don't know. I don't even want to, like, he kind of learns his lesson, I guess. Like,
well, okay.
I literally just watched this movie.
I feel the strain on your face, Gavin.
Yeah.
The story revolves around Davy, and he's a bad guy because a bad thing happened to him in his past. Which, spoiler, his parents died.
Yeah.
And he
on the way to one of his basketball games.
Right. And ever since then, he's been like a really bad attitude character.
Yeah.
A majority of the plot surrounds Whitey and his wanting to win like a patch.
Yes.
Which is like Citizen of the Year. And the whole thing is like, he's so poor, he will do anything. He will clean out toilets and, all these odd jobs, and people make fun of him and call him a loser and whatever.
Yeah.
Most of the people...
Loser's like the nicest thing to call them, by the way.
The town is like full of assholes, essentially. Like, that is are awful. And also like mutants, because literally there's a woman that has 3 breasts. And, like, it's a full joke. There's also like a marauding band of deer who laugh and eat shit, literally.
Yeah. And are... like magical,
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he has, I mean, and the whole thing is, Adam Sandler's character learning a lesson, and there's a kid involved, and like a woman that he used to like as a child. And,
here's the thing too. So it's exactly the thing that you talked about when we talked about Jack and Jill in the drag episode, which is that you're presented with an awful human being, and then the twist comes, and you're expected to feel bad that you've been judging this person because you don't know their full story. But the problem is he is an awful human being.
Yeah.
He's basically almost irredeemable.
Yeah.
To the extent where, like, he puts people in incredibly dangerous situations in which they could die.
Yeah.
But it's okay because he means well.
Yeah, and he makes fun of, like, the little fat kid.
Right.
He's,
the movie is racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No need for that. In the middle of a song.
My darling wife was once a he.
But that was long ago.
This woman turns around, and she's a larger person with a full beard, and is like, but that was a long, long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's every base thing about an Adam Sandler movie you can find made into an animated movie package.
And I feel bad because I know how hard it is to make an animated film. I know how many people have to work on it. A lot of those animators, if you haven't noticed, the animation looks a lot like The Iron Giant, and that's because a lot of those animators worked on The Iron Giant and then were laid off. And so there is definitely a quality there that I'm not mad at. I'm happy these people.
Good.
Yeah, I'm happy these people got jobs, but I just wish they'd gotten better jobs. A lot of people complain about Adam Sandler's humor being lowest common denominator. I don't even think it's lowest common denominator when it's this bad. It's desperate.
Right.
It's like desperate for a laugh.
Well, there's like a difference between being crass,
right,
and being like, I mean, when you're desperate for a laugh when you're gonna make fun of someone because they're a woman, because they're fat, because they're gay,
right?
Like that's just like, okay, cool. Like it's not funny,
right?
And so if it's like the Kathy Griffin thing, like anything can be funny. Like no matter how offensive you are, if it's funny, it's funny. But like a lot of times with Adam Sandler's movies, especially when he decided to write for himself and not like take direction, it's just like, oh good, now you're making fun of a guy because he like has a foot that's smaller than another, or like has a hairy back or whatever. Like that's okay, cool. Like,
yeah,
what fun, we're making fun of someone for like something they can't like.
I mean, it's very telling that this, like, I think the first line that's not narration in the movie, by the way, movie's narrated by Rob Schneider, but then the first line that's not narration in the movie is Rob Schneider playing a stereotypical Asian man.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like, come on, guys, what are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, and I feel like, I mean, Rob Schneider's like confirmed that he's a conservative asshole anyways, but I think when he looks at that, he thinks like, why can't I do that? Why isn't it funny anymore? And it's like, it wasn't funny ever. It's just that the people you were hurting at the time didn't have the ability to vocalize how you were hurting them.
There was no place for the voices to be heard.
Right.
You know?
There was no places for those. Exactly. There was no places for those voices to be heard.
It's like, yeah, well, you've always had a fucking megaphone. And
yes.
Like now we're able to speak our truth as well. And it's, did we mention it's a musical?
Yes.
I will say, when I watched it as a kid to up to now, I have never forgotten the song Technical Foul. That song is an earworm.
If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you don't shut the door after using the refrigerator, that's a technical foul. A technical foul.
And it's my favorite part of the movie, and it's the only, and so Whitey has a sister, and she has these big glasses, and there's like this really funny gag the entire movie. She's like, some hoodlum stole my wig, and like,
yeah, my Elizabeth Taylor wig,
yeah, like years and years ago, and she always is just looking for it. I think she is the funniest, cutest little angel baby.
I will say this though, if we're talking about like shitty things about the movie, that wig gets returned to her. A man comes and apologizes to her and gives her back the wig, and she like knocks him out.
She proceeds to beat the shit out of him.
And it's one of those things where it's just like, it feels like the message of the film is like, people don't change. Like everybody's an asshole, and everybody. And I like got to that after all these everything that preceded it. I was just like, okay, like just end.
All you need to do is go to YouTube, put in Technical Foul, and just listen to that song, because that song is very funny. That's a technical foul.
Yeah, I didn't like any of it.
You don't like Technical Foul?
It's not. I mean, it's fine. Adam Sandler is proven that he can write songs. I'm okay with admitting that.
And that's right. Draw the line.
And the funny thing is there's so much product placement in it, and I was like absolutely convinced that I was like, yeah, they didn't ask. Which was the weirdest fucking thing, because then it's just like free product placement.
They fully animate the panda from Panda Express.
The toy soldiers from KB Toys, which doesn't exist anymore.
Foot Locker, Radio Shack,
a dress from Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. And I can only imagine. I mean, the companies must have been like, well, we're not fucking going up against Adam Sandler,
right?
Because in such a offensive movie, though, maybe they felt like they could get away with it because they're like the conscience of Adam Sandler. These like fucking weird. It's except that like, isn't like the GNC dude trying to fuck the Victoria's Secret dress?
Yeah.
Ugh, weird.
It is, I believe to this day, one of the only PG-13 animated films that has ever gotten nominated for a Kids' Choice Awards.
Yeah. Psycho.
Yeah. Not a great movie, and I feel bad once again picking the one Jewish movie on a holiday movie list, but also, if there's a good Hanukkah movie to be made, someone please make it. don't let this be the one.
Yeah.
Someone make something better than this.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, there's certainly, I remember the Rugrats episode.
Yeah, great. I think that's how a lot of people learned about Hanukkah.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
One day.
Or maybe there's something out there. If you guys know anything, let us know.
But how can we make Adam Sandler apologize for this? Anyways.
Let's give him an Oscar for Uncut Gems. Let's get out of this hellscape. Let's move into our 5-star reviews.
My 5-star review is, and I there were a couple I could have picked. I will admit, for not being a merry gentleman, there are plenty of holiday musicals that I do enjoy. I mentioned In the Good Old Summertime, and even though, it's not fully, but I think the one that I have to go with is 1992's Muppet Christmas Carol.
Cute.
And I think that, I saw it at the right age. The funny thing is the first time I saw it was teacher showed it to a class. Yeah.
Yes.
And
I hope, I don't know if kids are watching these anymore. I hope teachers are still playing them.
Me too.
I don't know if that's the truth.
It is from 1992. It is Brian Henson's very first film. It is the 4th Muppet movie, and it's the first that was made after Jim Henson's death. It was originally sold as a TV movie to ABC, and they loved the script so much that Disney was like, we'll buy it and make it a feature film. This was also, I believe, Henson's first big collaboration with Disney, which 12 years later in 2004 would go on to purchase the Muppets, because they must own everything. But it's... as we mentioned, it's the retelling of A Christmas Carol. Everybody knows the story. Ebenezer Scrooge, he hates Christmas, and he makes everybody's life miserable during Christmas because he hates Christmas. And 3 ghosts, his former partner comes to visit him, this time played by 2, Waldorf and Statler, 2 former partners, come to visit him and tell him he's going to be visited by 3 ghosts. They're going to teach him the meaning of Christmas. Goes to Christmas past, present, and yet to come. He wakes up the next morning, is like, I haven't missed Christmas, changes his ways, everybody loves him. And this version's hosted by Charles Dickens, played by Gonzo, and his trusty sidekick, Rizzo the Rat. Mm-hmm. What's great about it is, first of all, I actually really like the music. When it came out, a lot of the critics panned the music.
Really?
Paul Williams wrote all the music for it. He also wrote the Rainbow Connection for the Muppet movie. So
everyone want to cry?
Yeah, exactly. So, go fuck yourselves, critics.
And everyone is family. We're having so much fun. After all, there's only one more sleep till Christmas.
I think the music's really cute. I think the style of it, everything that you said about Muppets being integrated into society. I also like the idea that the Muppets, or at least Gonzo and Rizzo, seem to be aware that they're in a movie, which is actually one of my favorite things about The Great Muppet Caper, is that they're aware they're in a movie. And so I like playing with that. I think the other thing that really sells the film, it's a 2-part thing, which is, one, Brian Henson offered the role to Michael Caine himself, and Michael Caine's stipulation was he would play the role of Ebenezer Scrooge like he was doing a Royal Shakespeare production.
Please, Michael Caine, please.
He was like, I'm not going to do anything silly. I'm not going to do anything Muppety. I'm going to play this like my life depended on it. Yes. And it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's a real solid role. He's not reacting to the fact that he's talking to felt. He had to walk across boards because they had to remove the floors of everything so they could have the puppeteers underneath.
Yeah, when he is yelling at Kermit and the little rats who just want to go home for Christmas, I'm like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
It's almost...
When he throws the wreath at the bunny.
Yes. It's almost like heightened emotions, though, because this is I don't want to get too deep, but are Muppets a minority? No
one talks about it.
No one wants to talk about how Muppets are minorities.
But we did see the Happy Time Murders, and we know.
And now we know.
We know.
Michael Caine is very good.
Very good.
Christmas is a very busy time for us, Mr. Cratchit. People preparing feasts, giving parties, spending the mortgage money on frivolities. One might say that December is the foreclosure season.
Harvest time for the moneylenders.
boss. Ax him. Tell him, Mr. Peach. Come on. Do it now, boss. Do it.
If you please, Mr. Scrooge, it's gotten colder.
Yeah.
And the bookkeeping staff would like to have an extra shovel full of coal for the fire.
We can't do the bookkeeping.
Yeah, all of our pens have turned to inksicles.
Our assets are frozen.
How would the bookkeepers like to be suddenly
Unemployed!
This is my island in the sun.
I believe you've convinced them once again, Mr. Scrooge.
And then the other prong attack.
He's respecting it.
Yes.
He's respecting the Muppets.
And I'll be honest, I think that's what's missing in some of their other adaptations. This started them down a path of literary adaptations. There's Treasure Island, which is fun but not great. There's a TV version of Wizard of Oz. And I think part of the problem is the actors are like, oh, we're in a Muppet movie. Yeah. We're hanging out with Muppets. And I think Michael Caine hit that sweet spot of like really treating it like it's a reality. I think the other thing that really works in the film is that it really respects the source material, and Muppet Christmas Carol isn't a parody, but I think the best comedic films that are based off of serious source material, the way they work, how they work so well is that they start by really respecting the thing that they're taking the piss out of.
Right.
And I think this movie does a really amazing job of using a lot of Dickens' text and really, because let's face it, this is a very stupid story. I've seen so many versions of Christmas Carol, and really is like, he is a dick and he maybe deserves what's coming to him, but also he's a guy who basically gets shamed into liking Christmas.
Well,
and,
yeah,
I know he's awful. He's mistreating people.
No,
and
he is. And the story is all about like the redemptive power of Christmas.
Right.
It's all about like, and I think that's why like musicals work so well with it, right? Because like music is magic and Christmas is magic, and you can like let go with something like in these times of merriment and maybe loss and new things, an asshole would be like, you know what, fine, like okay, like let's for this one day. Or whatever, like, I feel changed.
And maybe that's the reason, come to think of it, like, maybe that's the reason why 8 Crazy Nights doesn't work, because Davy's redemption arc isn't believable.
Right.
It's, no. he gets one song sung to him after being, like, the worst guy, because Ebenezer Scrooge is a bad person. Yeah. He's, like, not donating to charity, he's, like, making people work on Christmas, but Davy is, like, endangering the public, crashing into things, and, like, being homophobic and racist, and yet, like, we're supposed to buy his redemptive arc because he learned something from a bunch of corporate ghosts, and that's, but then you have Ebenezer Scrooge, who actually basically is like, you're gonna die alone, everyone fucking hates you.
Yeah.
And there's people out here who need the things that you have.
Right.
I love Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And like, also real quick, the one other thing I want to say too, I think it's the only Muppet movie where Miss Piggy is allowed to be vulnerable for a moment. And I think the thing that makes Miss Piggy special is she's a very sensitive character. Mm-hmm. That sensitivity oftentimes comes out in rage, In this film, when the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come visits him and shows him Tiny Tim has died, the first thing you see is Miss Piggy crying over the loss of her child.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was really effective because you don't really get to see her as a three-dimensional... I know I'm talking about a Muppet, guys. I know. But it's meaningful.
But it's true. You don't see that side of Miss Piggy a lot.
And that's what I mean by treating its source material with respect.
Yeah.
Is that you allow these characters to exist as they would in the original text.
Totally. I 100% agree. My 5-star review goes to A Diva's Christmas Carol.
Yes!
So, A Christmas Carol across the board here
yes.
at Mixed Reviews. I just watched this on Thanksgiving Day with some of my good Judies. This movie changed my life. No. I watched this movie over and over again on VH1 it came out in 2000, so I was like 12, 13 years old.
Oh my God, I'm so much older than you.
You're not so much older than me.
Go on, just tell your story.
For those of you who don't know, A Diva's Christmas Carol was a VH1 Movies That Rock original movie that premiered on VH1, You can now find it on the Hallmark Channel. It stars...
Well, no, don't watch anything on the Hallmark Channel. Sorry.
It's canceled.
It's canceled. Cancel culture. We're taking it down.
It stars Vanessa Williams in basically proto-Wilhelmina Slater mode.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about VH1 movies that rock originals, but this is the only
I've
one.
seen some.
It just feels like... okay, so it's A Christmas Carol.
Yes.
But instead of Ebenezer Scrooge, it's Ebony. And she is a diva. She is kind of like a Barbra Streisand, maybe Diana Ross type character. She was in a group called Desire with 2 other women.
Is this the Michelle Visage story?
It is the Michelle Visage story. One of the other women is played by Chili of TLC fame. And I do not know who the other woman is, but she's a good singer. But
was it Naomi Watts?
It was Naomi Watts. I'm so sorry. What if it was?
Go to our Instagram to find out that joke.
Yeah. And then she's kind of a bitch. She's a diva. She's a bitch. She's cutting. She's ruthless. The beginning of the movie is like her filming a music video, a Christmas music video, and she ends up just like blowing a gasket and just being the ultimate diva. She decides, her accountant's like, we don't have enough money for whatever, and she's like, we'll work through Christmas. We're going on tour. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And her manager / ex-lover maybe is like, but my kid, he's dying back at home.
About the concert, you can't have it on Christmas Day.
Oh.
We're off Christmas Day. Your people want to go home and see their families.
They've got the next day off.
You can't do this.
Well, I just did. Tickets will go on sale tomorrow morning.
And how am I going to tell everybody that there's no Christmas break?
I'm sure you'll think of something.
And she's like, oh, well, send them a basket. I don't know, whatever, blah. And the thing that I love so much about this movie is that it knows exactly what it is. And it is playing to its strengths, which is spoofing the music industry. And Vanessa Williams is the perfect person to do all of it. Like, she is able to be this, like, high diva who somehow has this, like, vulnerability underneath, is able to be cut down. I believe her when The Ghost of Christmas Past, which is Kathy Griffin.
I know this.
With her old face. That's not a read, but when you see her, you're like, oh.
I think Kathy Griffin would agree.
Yeah.
So
Kathy Griffin would be like, that's 2 faces ago.
Yeah.
And she's very funny in it. She's so good. Like,
Hey, isn't there any other night you can show me? There was a New Year's in '95. There was
right,
really...
and that Arbor Day in '96. Woo, they're still talking. Sorry, I just do Christmas. Problem is, you're a little thin on Christmas is worth remembering.
But I believe Vanessa Williams, when she goes to see her past, and she has had this really awful, tough life growing up in the projects and getting separated from her brother, and feeling that, like, music was the way out for her. I believe it, and I understand her ruthlessness comes from this space. I think they do a very good job of, like, explaining why she has become the way she is. It made me feel nostalgic for, like, VH1.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, VH1 used to be fucking cool. The best part, The Ghost of Yet to Come, is literally a VH1 Behind the Music special.
It is.
And she's sitting in her hotel room watching it, and it's about her and how she died. And it's basically like Brian McKnight and a bunch of, like, talking heads who were on actual VH1 Behind the Music specials talking shit about her. And they were like, honestly, her dying was the best thing because we sold so many albums. And then, line of the century, when she goes and sees her grave, and she's like, no, not Bette Midler. And it's literally, you were the wind beneath my wings. So good. It is high camp. It is so funny, so fun. The full banger that is Heartquake, that is Desire's smash hit single. There's also excellent version of Sleigh Ride that Vanessa Williams does.
Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
If you like non-threatening rock and roll and pop music and Christmas and Vanessa Williams, like, it's all there. It's just it is a camp classic for the holidays.
I love that. I'm glad. Because you had texted me, you were like, we cannot forget A Diva's Christmas Carol.
We cannot forget A Diva's Christmas Carol.
And it shan't be forgotten.
No. And I mean, it is Wilhelmina Slater down. And yeah, Vanessa Williams so good. I mean, there's just so many funny moments where she's just like, I will say, the movie does suffer from my least favorite thing in the world. Bad children actor.
Yeah.
The Tiny Tim, he's off. He sucks.
Sorry. I cast him.
You? Oh, it was you?
Yeah, it was me. Was there anything else that you saw that you perhaps really liked?
I fucking loved Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Did you bring that shit back?
I don't have it with me, but
you bitch.
I sold it.
Yeah, I sold it.
No, but it's so good.
It is so good.
It's so sweet.
I don't know what it is about Henson, but they really capture the magic of Christmas.
I don't know if you guys caught that. It's Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It's like a quick little, 45-minute, like it's not long. The sweetest little characters, Emmett Otter, Ma Otter, and everyone's like, there's like a weasel and a fox, and they're all just like fun and cute. It's kind of old. It was from the 70s, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically this little story about, and this is like, I don't know, as I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, this is like some rural Americana shit, and this is like the way Southern people should be. Like, this is all the values of like being a good Christian during Christmas, like that should be the truth, but like in practice we just know isn't, and it frustrated me a lot. But the movie is very it just captures that whole, like, you know, we're poor but we are making it through, and we love each other, and we're going to take care of each other. And the song that Ma Otter literally sings is, people will say that there's not enough for all of us, and I say that there is, and we're welcoming everyone in together, and love is going to get us through the Christmas. And I was just like, well, fuck me up, Ma Otter.
Some say our world is getting too small.
So many things to learn, but we'll enjoy each lesson.
I say with kindness there's room for us all.
Problems don't worry us when half the fun is guessing.
We talked enough about Mrs. Santa Claus, but it is something I watch genuinely every year. Oh, also real quick, they're technically not even specials, they're episodes, but the two community episodes that I watch every year for Christmas, Abed's stop motion animation episode and the episode where they're trying to get them all to join the Glee Club. It has maybe one of my favorite songs where Annie is trying to figure out what Christmas is as she seduces Jeff.
Teach me how to understand Christmas. Show me how to open a box. It hurts my little head when I'm lying in my bed with visions of sugar plum socks.
Is this a bit?
That show is too good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, I think that's pretty good for Christmas musicals. And once again, just watch Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, you got to.
Let's do our mixed reviews review.
Yes. So my 1-star review, as well as your 1-star review, is 2002's 8 Crazy Nights.
Yes, and my 5-star review is 2000's A Diva's Christmas Carol.
And my 5-star review is 1992's The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Excellent. Let's hit that fast forward.
I don't know if there's any other holiday musicals coming out. We talked about in our zombie episode, Anna and the Apocalypse. I think that's maybe the most recent holiday musical.
Also a full banger. You should watch that.
Oh, absolutely. But, I think if there are, and I think we've sort of expressed that, if there are any coming out, there needs to be that ability to draw the audience in a way that communicates the sort of family warmth that is the holidays.
Right. It feels like now everything is like a commodity.
Yeah.
And so I just realized that there definitely is Mariah Carey's animated garbage movie, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah. There's a documentary about that song coming out on Amazon. And it's called Mariah Carey Is Christmas.
Okay. It feels like, is it crazy to think like that we'll probably get, a Wrapped in Red movie coming soon? Like, or, it feels like now everything needs to like have a jumping off point, like something that's already proven success. I don't know how many people are out there writing modern Christmas songs.
And it's a hard game to get into. The only modern Christmas song I can think of that has made it in a popular way is Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You."
Yeah, I mean, well, that song specifically probably is like an anomaly, right?
Right.
Like that's one of the most popular Christmas songs of all time. I think even like other less popular but still popular, like Kelly Clarkson's original music that she put out a couple years ago, Sia's new original Christmas music that she put out last year. There is like an Elf musical now, like that runs every holiday season.
And it is interesting to see that all these movies now get that musical adaptation. There was also a couple years ago they did a live version of A Christmas Story, the musical, with Anna Gasteyer and. She's really the only person I can remember those. And Matthew Broderick.
Rudolph, wasn't it?
Maya Rudolph. So it's interesting to see all of these sort of properties move into this musical realm as well. And it's funny because the Elf musical, I believe, for a while was playing every Christmas time on Broadway. There was a Broadway version of White Christmas that was playing for a while, a Holiday Inn as well. And so it's interesting to see these movies get the Broadway treatment, and they're getting more towards them and less to the theaters.
Right. I wish. I mean, so like on Netflix, there's so much. I mean, even on like Lifetime and Hallmark and all that, like there's like a deluge of holiday movies, and I almost wonder, like, man, like I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities, or I wonder if like, is there a way to make a medium, smaller scale version of, because a lot of the movies that we discussed were full big productions that take a lot to get going. I mean, even The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas started off as a Broadway show and then became a movie, and they're a little bit different from each other. They're not like exactly the same, because I think there still is an audience for holiday comfort and joy type things. I think we certainly, there are movies that we didn't mention that aren't musicals about, getting home for Christmas time and all of that stuff. But I think it's like a very weird time for musicals in general.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine like something so niche and then going even more niche, getting that off the ground and finding success. But I don't know, there's something, and maybe it's also just because it's so nostalgia filled, like there's so much love and goodwill towards what we already have. It's hard to try and like enter that canon. It's kind of like writing a new Christmas classic. It's like, it's hard because there's already so many good things. How do you replicate White Christmas? How do you replicate I'll Be Home for Christmas? Like,
you cut out the racist numbers.
You cut them out? Well, the thing I'm thinking of is like, did you see, there's like a new like teen Netflix Christmas movie called Let It Snow.
Yes, I did not see it.
I saw it. And
Christmas movies ain't my jam.
Right. Teens, not your jam. I watched it and I was like, this could be a musical. Like, this easily could be, a very simple little...
Yeah.
And, like, there's so many talented people, and but, I mean, God, fucking writing a musical in itself.
I know. So hard. You can't just write one memorable song. You have to write 10 memorable songs.
But also, I mean, like a lot of the movies you talked about, like there's one Christmas number.
Right.
Everything else can just be whatever. But if you can get the one Christmas song, but like, man, everyone loves that Christmas song, like if you can fucking figure out that formula. Ugh.
Yeah. It's a hard one to crack. I guess that's maybe in our conclusion is that doing a Christmas musical, creating a memorable moment, not so easy. So hats off to the ones that have been able to.
I mean, and that's kind of like our 5-star reviews kind of prove the point. We both picked Christmas carols.
Right.
Original takes for sure. But,
but if you can stick that landing.
God bless you. May all
everyone.
May your days be merry and bright.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to us throughout the year. Mm-hmm. This is our final episode of 2019. We'll be back at the beginning of the year with our year in review that we do every year. But thank you, everybody, seriously, for coming back week after week and listening to the show and being really supportive of us and the thing that we do.
I hope you guys are having a fun,
Yeah.
stress-free, or as stress-free as it can be, time of the year.
Whatever you celebrate, it doesn't have to be Christmas. Trust me, it definitely doesn't have to be Christmas. But if you do, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa.
Hug someone you love for us, and maybe hug us a little bit online.
Yeah.
You can find us all sorts of places.
Oh, absolutely. You can write to us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
You can find us on Facebook. Just write in The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram, _mixed_reviews.
And you can listen to us so many places. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Stitcher. We are on Google Play Music. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And if you do listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please go and leave us a 5-star rating and write us a review. We'll read it on the show. It's the time of year for gift giving. Give us that gift, and we'll give it back to you, I promise.
And also, keep a lookout for our Twitter poll that'll come out soon.
Absolutely.
And if we missed any movies, I'm sure we did.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there's some Christmas musicals that we didn't even think of.
Yeah, so holla back at us, girl. That's a reference. That makes sense.
Yeah. What is this, 2007?
I wish!
That explains all that Harajuku makeup. By the way, that is cultural appropriation.
I know.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really do appreciate you. And we're just going to go sip on some eggnog.
We'll see you in 2020. Bye.
Bye.